Yeah, hello students. I'm going to start with the next chapter in geography, which is natural vegetation. Now, first I'll explain what the meaning of natural vegetation is. Now, natural vegetation means vegetation that grows naturally in a given surrounding. It takes into effect the limitations that is there in the natural surrounding, and taking into all that into account, it grows naturally without any human aid or interference, nothing like that. It grows naturally. So that is called as natural vegetation. Now, natural vegetation means you have the trees, the shrubs, the grasses, all these come under natural vegetation. So this is the meaning of natural vegetation, which means they grow naturally without any human help. Now, there are certain factors. Now, before going to factors, when you look at the natural vegetation today, the size of the natural vegetation that is today has reduced considerably. That is because of human interference. Like I said in the previous chapter, we had learned about the causes of soil erosion. There we had learned human factor, which under that we had learned deforestation. That is because of population increase, which is the main cause. The forests are decreasing now. Nowadays. So that is one factor. So here there is very little vegetation that is actually not exploited, like the Himalayas, the Thar Desert, the Sundarbans. There are certain reasons behind that. For example, the Himalayas, because of its great height, it's like still it's inaccessible, so still it remains unexploited. Only the outer ranges, which is also called as the Shivalik range, there deforestation does takes place. Thar Desert, like I said, it is like because of its extreme temperature, it is not exploited. Then the Sundarbans, which is again impenetrable because of the dense forest there. So there are certain places where exploitation of the natural vegetation has not taken place because of its inaccessibility or extreme weather conditions or climatic conditions. Now that was the meaning of vegetation, natural vegetation. Next comes the factors. Now what are the factors that affect the growth of natural vegetation or the distribution? These are the three factors: climate, soil, topography. Now under climate, I have split climate as rainfall and temperature. Now under these two, like rainfall and temperature, rainfall is the most important factor that comes under climate, because like I said, temperature you will see only in the Himalayas, where as you go higher and higher, the temperature falls and there is variation in the vegetation that is found there. But most of the vegetation that is found in India is based on rainfall. Next is soil, and the third part is topography, or it is also called as relief. Now, next we come to the different types of natural vegetation that is found in India. Now, like I said, mainly in India, the different types of vegetation is mostly based on rainfall. Like here, three main types, which is the tropical evergreen forest. Then we have the second one, tropical deciduous forest, tropical desert forest. Now, this desert forest in some textbooks they have even given that as a thorn and scrub forest. And so these three forests are actually based on the amount of rainfall that these forests receives. So that classification or different types are based on rainfall. The next two, like littoral or tidal forest, mountain, or it is also called as montane forest, these are based on relief or topography. Like the previous frame I had explained, like with respect to temperature, mostly as we go higher and higher, the temperature goes on decreasing. So in the Himalayas, mostly we find different types of vegetation there. In that same, if you go higher and higher, so that because mountain forest and montane will come on the basis of relief, that is where they are found, and also the temperature that comes under this. So these are the five different types of vegetation that is found in India, which is evergreen, deciduous, desert, littoral and mountain. Now I will be taking each type separately and explaining it in detail. Okay, we come to the first type of vegetation, natural vegetation, which is a tropical evergreen forest. Now as the name says, evergreen forest means these the forest looks very green throughout the year. So the name goes as tropical evergreen forest. I have explained this part here, like they are also called as evergreen forests, as the trees found here have different period of shedding their leaves, so remain or look green throughout the year, which means that in these forests you find different types of trees. So trees mostly all trees they shed their leaves, but here because they are of different species or different types of trees found here, they have a different time or period of casting of their leaves. So they don't look bare or very empty. These forests don't look because of that empty or very bare. So they look green throughout the year. Now they are also called as rainforest because they are found in areas of heavy rainfall. Obviously, evergreen forest because trees generally require good amount of rainfall and abundant sunshine. So these forests are found in areas where there is good amount of rainfall and there is abundance of sunlight or sunshines. So they are called as rainforest and they are called as evergreen because of this reason. So also trees that are found in this forest are like they grow, they attain great heights, almost like 60 meters and even more, because like I said, they get lot of rainfall and good amount of sunshine. Also the trees found here, they form a canopy, like because these are tall trees, they form a canopy on top, because of which the lower trees, the trees that are short trees that are there, they don't receive the sunlight because the sunlight gets obstructed by these canopies. So then because of that, there are many short trees like shade tolerant trees or shrubs or grasses that grow under where the floor of the forest is, because the sunlight doesn't reach there, and then it is very dense, like climbers are there, bamboo, canes, different types of other trees or short plants are found there, and so they are very dense. So because of that reason, it is not these areas or these forests are inaccessible because there is lack of transportation also, and also because they are found at higher elevations. Like the next point here is not commercially exploited. See, these forests also have good trees where you can make expensive furniture. They have hardwood, fine grained wood or log is found there, but here it is not commercially viable because they are inaccessible, because they are very dense because there are different types, mixed species of trees that are found there. The undergrowth is also very there is thick undergrowth there. So because of that, these areas are inaccessible and there is lack of transport facility, and like I said, they are found at higher elevation. So it is like a drawback to exploit these forests. Otherwise there is wood, you get good quality wood there. So the points here to remember is that these are also called as rainforests because they are found in areas of heavy rainfall. Like I said, how much is required? It's more than 200 centimeters of rainfall that these forests receive. Also, they are very dense because they are also called, why are like these forests very dense? Because different types of trees are found here. That word that is written here is mixed stand. Mixed stand means different types of varieties or species of trees are found here. They are called as evergreen because they look green throughout the year, because these trees have different period of shedding their leaves. Next is they are not commercially exploited because of lack of transport facilities, because they are at greater heights, and also because they are very dense, because like I said, there are shrubs, trees that grow underneath, thick undergrowth is there. So these are the main points that you have to learn under tropical evergreen forest. Other than that, there are many other trees that are found here, like I said, mahogany, then there is shisham, rosewood. All these are good quality that wood you get from these trees. So, and there are places, where are these forests found? Obviously places that receives good amount of rainfall, which is the western slope of the Western Ghats, because these regions receive very good amount of rainfall. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands, because it's thickly forested there. There is almost, they say that 85% of the land is covered with forest. So you find these type of forests there, evergreen. Then there is the Garo Khasi Jaintia Hills. They also receive good amount of rainfall. So all these forests are found there where there is good amount of rainfall. Now I go to the next forest, which is the tropical deciduous forest. Now we come to the next type of vegetation, which is tropical deciduous forest. Now sometimes the question is asked, why are these forests called as deciduous forest? So that time you have to write this point, the third point, because the main reason being the trees that are found in this forest generally they shed their leaves, because first of all they grow in areas where there is only 100 to 200 centimeters of rainfall, that is annually. Now in this also there are two parts. In some textbooks they have split this into moist deciduous, some even further dry deciduous. You need not do that. You can learn this under tropical deciduous. So here the rainfall that these forests receive is between 100 to 200 centimeters annually, and because of that, in order to conserve the water, because the trees generally they shed their, they lose water through the leaves, through transpiration. So in order to avoid that, the trees trees shed their leaves during the dry season and during the early spring, because in order to conserve water. So because of that, they're called as deciduous. Because question is asked on this, why? So you have to write, because for 6 to 8 weeks they shed their leaves during early summer or spring to avoid water shortage. That is why they shed their leaves. So they are also called as monsoon forest. The range is between 100 to 200 centimeters. Sometimes characteristic features are asked, so you have to write this. Also, they are found in pure stand. Now, what is the difference between pure stand and mixed stand? Now, in evergreen forest, I had mentioned they are found in mixed stands. Mixed stands means different mixed species of trees are found there, and because of that, they have different period of shedding, and so they don't look bare or they don't look empty. Or you can say like naked. The forest don't look naked. So here they are found in pure stands, which means the trees that are found here are of similar types of species, so they actually shed their leaves around the same time, so they look bare. So then exploiting these forests becomes very easy, and they are not very dense because they are found in pure stands, whereas in tropical evergreen forests they were found in mixed stands. They were very dense, so exploitation was difficult, whereas here commercially exploited as valuable timber is found here, and also they are accessible because like I've told you, they are not very dense and transport facilities are available here. You can use that. So the trees that are, the important trees that are found here are teak, sal, sandalwood, shisham, rosewood, which is also in tropical, evergreen forest. So these are some of the characteristic features. The ones that I've marked here are important. Deciduous, why they are called deciduous, why they are found in pure stands, and why they are commercially exploited. All those questions are also asked in the exam on this topic, and also where they are found. Obviously, deciduous forests are found in most part of India, like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, then even in the in northern part like Bihar, Uttar Pradesh. Whereas evergreen was found only in areas where heavy rainfall was there. Like I said, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, in Garo Khasi Hills, which means it comes in Meghalaya, those places. Also the western slope of the Western Ghats, because these places receive very good amount of rainfall. Now I will go to the next part, which is tropical desert forest. Okay, now we will start with the third type of vegetation, which is tropical desert forest. Now, as the name says, desert, obviously the plants that grow here requires less amount of water. So the conditions also are like around the average temperature that is there here is like between 25 to 30 degrees Celsius. So obviously the trees or the plants that grow here will require less water, and they can also survive in high temperature. So then rainfall less than 50 centimeters, average is around 25 to 30 degree Celsius. And so these plants are also called as xerophytes. Sometimes questions are asked, why are the trees or plants found in this forest called as xerophytes? The meaning of xerophytes means they require less water. So they require less water to grow in these regions, so they are called as xerophytes. Also, one peculiar feature that you see of plants that grow in this forest is that they have waxy leaves, they have narrow leaves. Now the only reason being, like I said previously, like mostly trees they release water through their, through the leaves, like through a process called as transpiration. So here the leaves are narrow, the leaves are waxy, so that it reduces transpiration. Also the stems that are there are very bulky, and sometimes there are even spines or spokes on them, which means thorns. So they actually protect, the plants also protect themselves from being eaten up by the animals. So then all these characteristics features are there in plants that grow here. Also the plants are short and stunted, which means that around 10 meters height only they have, around 6 to 10 or 12 meters height, because of less amount of water that they get. Also under characteristic features, when they ask, other than the leaves, you have to even mention about the roots. The roots are pretty long, which go deep under the ground to search water. So these are the features that you see in the tropical desert type of forest. Also the plants that grow here, the trees that grow here are the date palms, then you have babul, kikar, cacti. All these are some of the trees that grow here, and mostly this is found in which parts of the country? Rajasthan, Saurashtra, then southwest part of Punjab. These are some also in Deccan Plateau, little in the interior. Like if you go, you find this type of forest. That is, these are also called as thorn and scrub forest, or also it is also called as tropical desert forest.
Now the next one is littoral or tidal forest. Littoral, the meaning of littoral means the forest or the vegetation that is found along the shores, like along the coast. Tidal, as the name says, these forests are prone to tides. So they get the tidal water, whenever there are tides. So it is saline. So mostly they are found along the coast, rivers, that is the shores or the banks of the rivers, deltas, the marshy swampy areas. Marshy swampy areas means these are waterlogged, saturated with water. So this type of vegetation you will find in these areas where there is waterlogged soil. Okay, now because it is waterlogged, obviously the roots, it becomes like very difficult to take oxygen, from the soil. So then mostly what the vegetation that is found here, they have aerial roots. So aerial roots, which means they grow vertically upwards. So then they have pores in them. So they are also called as breathing pores. So through them they absorb or they take in the oxygen for the plants. So they are called as nematophores, which I have written here. Roots are aerial that have pores to take in the oxygen from the atmosphere, because they have shifting soil or shifting mud. So because of that, the characteristic feature of this vegetation is they have pneumatophores or they have breathing roots through which they can take in the oxygen. Also, these roots are also submerged during high tide, because like I said, they are found along the coast or deltas. So whenever there is flooding, the roots get submerged, they get covered with the tidal water, and sometimes when there is low tide, then they are exposed. So that is the time when they take the oxygen from the air, when it is exposed. Then next one is, like I said, they can survive in saline and fresh water. Saline because, like I said, if near the tidal water when it enters, near the sea coast, so they can grow well in saline, as well as fresh water means the rivers, like the deltas or the rivers that are there, they can survive in fresh water. The trees that grow here are Sundri, Goljan, Intal, and many other trees are there. I have just mentioned 3 there. And mostly, where do you find these type of forests? Like I said, where the deltas, like you have the Godavari Delta, you have the Mahanadi Delta, Krishna Delta, the Ganga Brahmaputra Delta, which is also called as the Sundarbans. So Sundarbans, like Sundarbans, that word itself is derived from, because there are a lot of Sundri trees there. So it is found in West Bengal. So then Sundri trees, because a lot of Sundri trees are found in that area, in that delta, it is called as Sundarban. Ban means it's called as forest in Bengali. So then Sundri trees, sometimes even that question has been asked, why are Sundarbans so named? Because they are thickly inhabited with Sundri trees. And what is the use of the trees that are found here? The trees are like used for the timber that is there, the wood that is there, it is used for fuel. Then it is used in construction purposes. Sundri trees also, if you see, it is very oily. So then the wood is oily, so it is used for making boards, boxes. All these are some of the uses of the trees found in this region or in these forests. Now we will go to the next part, which is the last part, which is montane or mountain forest. Yeah, the last part in vegetation, mountain or montane forest. Now, as the name says, this type of vegetation obviously is found in the mountainous areas. So the best example you can see, different types of vegetation you will see in, on these mountains. The best example you will see is in the Himalayas. I will just explain this. Mostly you have learned, like as we go higher and higher, the temperature goes on decreasing. So obviously you will also find different types of vegetation or trees growing there on those altitudes, depending upon the temperature and the amount of rainfall that it receives. Now in the lower the foothills, like the Shivalik range, obviously there the Shivalik will receive more rainfall. Also the temperature is not that cooler there or colder there. So you will find a different type of vegetation growing there. Now if you move towards, like at a greater altitude, the temperature goes on falling and also the amount of rainfall also goes on decreasing. So you will find different types of vegetation growing along these mountains, mostly in the Himalayas. So temperature that is found at higher elevation on the mountains, so different types of vegetation you are going to find. The rainfall is mostly between 100 to 300 centimeters, depending upon where, depending upon the height. So lower areas, lower regions, obviously more rainfall. Low temperature, little comparatively warmer. If you go higher, the temperature goes on falling. The amount of rainfall also goes on falling. So temperature is mostly less than 20 degrees Celsius. But as you move higher, it is somewhere between 12 to 13. If you reach the snow line, which is literally topmost, there it is totally covered with snow. So it's extremely very cold, harsh conditions prevail there. So different types of vegetation. So different vegetations found as one goes higher up the mountains with decreasing temperature. Now like I've classified here the mountain vegetation, northern mountains and the southern mountains. Under northern mountains we find the Himalayas. So it Himalayas, which means they stretch from Jammu and Kashmir to Arunachal Pradesh. And southern mountains means you have the Nilgiris, Annamalai, then Western Ghats. All these come under the southern mountains. Obviously, when you compare the height between the northern and southern mountains, obviously northern mountains, the Himalayas are lofty mountains. So you find different kinds of vegetation there. Whereas in southern mountains, you won't find alpine vegetation or snow line in southern mountains. So the best example that you can use is the Himalayas. Now, as we go higher, like I said, the foothills or the lower regions, that is between 1000 meters to 2000 meters, you find a different type of vegetation there. So here it is wet temperate forest. Wet means you get some amount of rainfall there. So generally the trees that grow there are evergreen trees with broad leaves because they get good rainfall there and the temperature is not very cold there. So oak, chestnut, all these type of trees are grown there, very green and very broad type of trees. Now as you go higher, see here I have written between 1500 meters to 3000. So like I said, it depends upon where that area is or where that what vegetation is grown. So basically up to 3000 meters you find coniferous type of trees. Coniferous means basically they are like conical in shape. So the leaves also needle-like and they fall or droop down because these areas also receive snowfall. So when the snow falls on the leaves of these trees, they actually slide down. They don't accumulate. Whereas here in broad leaves, because these areas don't receive much of snowfall here, the leaves of the trees there are broad leaves. Whereas here they are coniferous type of trees that are found here. When you go much higher, that is above 3500 meters, you find alpine type of vegetation. Alpine means here it is extremely cold. So then obviously you won't find trees growing there because it is very difficult to grow in very harsh conditions, cold there. So it won't facilitate, it will retard the growth of trees there. So then you find grasses, wildflowers, shrubs, all short plants growing, lichens, mosses, like over those stones and all you will find all those green some growth there. So mosses, lichens are all found actually that comes under alpine vegetation till the snow line. Now snow line means beyond that there is only snow. It's like a blanket that is covered with snow. It is very cold. So there even coniferous type of trees can't be grown. So conifers cannot grow in these between 1000 to 2000 because it would be slightly warmer. Similarly, it can't grow in alpine because it is much more colder here. So these are the height or altitude where these type of vegetation you find. So Himalayas are a perfect example where you will find the different types of vegetation, that is from the wet temperate forest to alpine vegetation that you find. So this is the last part in vegetation, different types of vegetation that I have done. First one is tropical evergreen, second was tropical deciduous, third was tropical desert, fourth was littoral or the tidal forest, and the fifth one is the mountain or the montane forest. I will go to the importance of forest and distinguish between agroforestry and social forestry.
Hello students, we'll go to the next part of forest, that is natural vegetation. Importance of forest. Now forest plays a very important role because they not only have ecological benefits but also they serve us with economic benefits as well. Now in your textbook, that is total geography, because you all don't have a standard textbook, but in Morningstar total geography, the importance of forest they have split into three parts: productive functions, protective functions, regulatory functions and accessory functions. Because if you see in other textbooks, they haven't done this. Because in the exam generally what has been seen is they don't ask the different functions as per it's not classified. Like whereas in your school teacher, geography teacher, she may ask like state the regulatory functions of forest. So yes, so for that reason I have split this in this way. But otherwise whenever they ask importance of forest or advantages of forest, then you can mention any points that are there. You will get marks for that. But obviously in your school exam, if the teacher
specifies a certain function that has to be named, then you have to write that. Now under this productive functions, I have written certain points. It's a storehouse of timber because obviously there are many trees like teak, sal, many commercially important trees that are found in these forests that we did in the previous vegetation. So it's a storehouse of timber. They have different economical uses. So it is used in construction. It is used as a firewood, mainly by the people who stay near the periphery of these forests. They go to the forest, cut the trees for fire as a fuel, wood, for furniture making. So it's a good source of income for them. Next is provides raw materials to industries because there are certain industries that depend on forest products as raw materials. Provides employment. Obviously, there are many people working in these industries, so it provides employment to thousands of people. Third is there are other products also other than that, which are like fruits are there. Then there is honey. Then there are different types of trees, like I said, even bamboo. Everything can be got from the forest. So these come under productive functions. Next is protective functions. Protective functions means how does it help the environment. Like for example, it prevents soil erosion because the trees of the roots of these trees hold the soil. They act as anchor or they bind the soil. So they actually reduce or check soil erosion. Now these trees, they also when they wither, when they die, so when they fall on the ground, after a certain period of time they get decomposed, so they form as humus. So humus, like in soil we had learned, it improves the fertility of the soil. So it's like a sponge, it even absorbs the rainwater. So then adds humus to the soil, increases fertility. Also, like I said, because it gets absorbed, because trees are there, the water does not get, there is no surface runoff. So the water gets absorbed underneath, so it also increases the groundwater table, the aquifers that are there. The next one is regulatory functions. Regulatory functions like it purifies the environment. Like we know that trees, when they are there, they take in carbon dioxide and they release oxygen. So then they purify. So there is an ecological balance that they maintain. Increases humidity. Obviously, trees through their leaves they give out water vapor. So that's called transpiration, the process. So then when humidity increases, that eventually results into rainfall. That cloud cover, everything forms, and then there is rainfall. It reduces the heat or the temperature that is there. Obviously, when trees are there, the temperature is, you find that place a little cooler. So the temperature also gets reduced. Next is accessory functions. Under that, it provides a shelter to wildlife, the birds that are there. Then it is like the government has also created many national parks and sanctuaries, which actually to create a natural habitat, like a living place for these animals that are there. So that also comes under accessory functions, and also it's like a recreational facilities for us also. Like when we go to these national parks and reserves, like national reserves that are there. So these all come under accessory functions. So if it is asked, specific questions asked, like specific functions are asked, then you write. But generally, like I said, in the exam, board exam, they never ask that way, accessory functions or regulatory functions or productive functions. It's asked in general because there is no textbook other than in your textbook that they have split the functions this way. Now I'll go to the next part, which is forest conservation. Why is there a need to conserve forest? Now next we come to forest conservation. Now, why is this forest conservation required? Now, it has been seen that the forest cover has been declining rapidly, and that is the main reason being deforestation. And we had even learned this in the previous chapter, which was soil, in that because of increase in human population, the forests are being cut because for want of more land, because as population increases, there is more demand for food also. So then there is overgrazing done, there is industrialization, infrastructure. So for many reasons, forests are being actually cut. That is called as deforestation. So the forest cover is declining. Now, as per the National Forest Policy, which was actually in the year 1894, many amendments, changes did take place after that. As per that, it has been said that or stated that out of the total geographical land that is there, 33% should be actually reserved for forest. Forest land should be 33% of the total geographical area. But it has been seen that in India, that cover is relatively less. It is only 23%, 22.8 or something. But then it approximately it comes to around 23%. And so, in order to increase the forest cover, there are certain steps that the government has taken. Now, the first one is afforestation. Afforestation means what? planting new trees on barren land, degraded land. There is another term called as reforestation that I have not mentioned here because that comes again under planting trees. But the only difference between reforestation and afforestation is afforestation means you're planting new trees in newer areas, where trees weren't there. Reforestation means where trees were cut or which was destroyed due to forest fire or due to human factor. So then because of that you're planting trees there again. So you're planting trees there in those areas where trees were already there but they were cut or destroyed. Next is preventing overgrazing of animals. Like I said, people who stay near the periphery, these tribal people, what they do is they take their animals to these forests and they graze. The animals are grazed there. So because of that, what happens is the vegetation and everything gets destroyed there. That results into soil erosion and the land also gets degraded. So you have to prevent overgrazing of animals in the forest. Checking indiscriminate cutting of trees, which means deforestation. So that should be prevented. Shifting cultivation should be controlled or it should be banned. Shifting cultivation means it's like slash and burn. You would have learned this. Now shifting cultivation means again people what they do is they select a piece of land and they do whatever vegetation is there. They either burn it or they remove everything, cut it, and then they do plowing. Now they don't use any good quality seeds or fertilizers because these are poor farmers. So then after 2 or 3 years the yield goes on decreasing. Now after 2 or 3 years when the yield decreases, they shift to another place. So there again they cut the trees, they destroy everything there, and again they do cultivation. But in the process they leave behind a lot of degraded land which leads into what you call soil erosion, and the forest also gets destroyed because of that. So you have to, the government should make them actually practice what you call a sedimentary type of cultivation, which means they're sitting in one place and doing it. You have to give them good quality seeds at subsidized rates, fertilizers, so that they don't indulge in shifting cultivation. Next is controlling forest fires, that is spreading of fires. So that is mostly in these forested areas there are forest line, which means that a certain patch of land is left vacant or there is no vegetation there. So even if forest fires, when it happens there, then actually there is no spreading. So that patch of land is not that's it lacks vegetation and it gets controlled there. So controlling forest fires, spreading of fires. Then practicing social forestry and agroforestry is one of the methods wherein you can increase the forest cover. Now social forestry and agroforestry I will be doing in the next frame in detail. So you can just copy this now. Yeah, now we come to the last part in natural vegetation, social forestry and agroforestry. Now this I had taken as a method or a measure to conserve forest. Now what is the difference between social forestry and agroforestry? Social means obviously in general for the society. Agro means generally it's done privately or on an individual level. Now if you go as per the meaning, you have to learn this meaning because in most textbooks the meanings of these two terms are almost similar, almost same. So you can't write in your own words, like you have to use these terms. Like social forestry means what? It refers to the management and protection of forest and afforestation on the barren lands with the purpose of helping in the environmental, social and rural development. Afforestation means you're planting more trees, so you're protecting also, you're managing the trees that are there. So that comes under social forestry. Now social forestry in simple words means you are actually creating new forest, means you are planting, it is afforestation. So you're planting new trees. So you're creating new forest and also you're protecting the existing forest from getting from deforestation, from cutting. So that is like so that you can control or you can increase the forest cover. Now what is agroforestry? Agroforestry refers to the sustainable system of the piece of land for using farming, forestry and animal rearing. Now that means that it is a combination of agriculture and forestry. Agriculture means you're cultivating crops as well as you're rearing animals. That is animal husbandry, which means that you're raising cattle so that you can use the products these coming from these animals like milk, meat. Then there is poultry farming that is done. So on that given piece of land, the farmers will also cultivate the land, but at the same time they will also indulge in animal husbandry, which means rearing of animals so that they can get the product. So that gives them additional income, and also forestry. So they will also plant trees there so that they don't have to depend on the natural forest or the existing forest or the traditional forest, like which the forests that are already there. So they don't go to the forest to cut trees so that they can use it for fuel. So they are planting trees in that given piece of land. That is agroforestry, which means that social forestry means you're planting trees, other than actually where the trees are already there, like the natural forests that are already there, which means that you're planting trees along the margins of like the roads and railways, degraded land, because like I said, afforestation. Then there are some village community lands that are there, so there they will plant, so they are increasing the forest cover. And whereas here agroforestry is like your cultivate, it is like social, it is like somewhat a part of social forestry, where they are cultivating on privately agricultural land. So it is like they say that it's a component of social forestry. The aims are and objectives are almost similar. Like here also they reduces demand on the existing forest because they are planting more trees, conserving soil because forests are there, so soil they prevent soil erosion, increases the water table, makes use of all the unused and fallow land, like I said, degraded land, whichever there is open land, they try and plant trees there. Then provides fuel, wood, fodder, everything, mainly for the rural population that is there, that depends on forest for their needs. So they are creating more forest for them. So objectives again here same, it reduces pressure in natural forest. It's quite same to what natural what you call social forestry. Only thing is they are making use of the available land which they have, private lands. On that they are growing fodder, they are cultivating crops, and they are planting trees as well. So these two are, sometimes it is asked in differentiation. So you have to write, the first point can be the meaning, and second point you can write that here it is mainly aimed in creating new forest and protecting the existing ones, whereas here you can write they are planting it so that on the available piece of land they can do cultivation and they do not have to exert more pressure on the existing forests that are there. Okay, so with this we have finished this chapter of natural vegetation. So please go through the video, and I will be sending even the PDF file of this chapter, natural vegetation, shortly.